Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Radha Gopinath Radha Gopinath Radhe. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Nitya Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Gaura Hari Bol. Shri Radha Gopinath ki, Prabhupada ki, the Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. So, speaking from Canto 2, named Chapter 6, Purusha Shukta Confirmed, verse number 24 and 25. So, verse 24. Deshu yagnasya pashavaha savanaspat vanaspatya kushaha idam cha deva yagnam kalas kuro gurnavitaha. For performing sacrificial ceremonies, one requires sacrificial ingredients such as flowers, leaves, and straw, along with the sacrificial altar and a suitable time, spring. Text 25. Vastuni oshadaya sneha rasaloha mridojalam richo yam yajam sisamani chaturhodram sasatama vastuni oshadaya sneha rasaloha mridojalam richo yajam sisamani chaturhodram chasatama vastuni oshadaya sneha rasaloha mridojalam richo yajam sisamani chaturhodram chasatama rasaloha mridojalam richo yajam sisamani chaturhodram chasatama vastuni oshadaya sneha rasaloha mridojalam richo yajam sisamani chaturhodram chasatama. So we'll go through word to word. Vastuni, utensils. Oshadaya, grains. Sneha, clarified butter. Rasa loha mrida, honey, gold and earth. Jalam, water. Richaha, the Rig Veda. Yajamsi, the Yajur Veda. Samani, the Sam Veda. Chatuhotram, 4 persons conducting the performance. Cha, all these. Satama, O most pious one. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Please repeat. Other requirements are utensils, grains, clarified butter, honey, gold, earth, water, the Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, and Sama Veda, and 4 priests to perform the sacrifice. Other requirements are utensils, grains, clarified butter, honey, gold, earth, water, the Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, and Sama Veda, and 4 priests to perform the sacrifice. Purport, please hear. To perform a sacrifice successfully, at least 4 expert priests are needed. One who can offer, hota, one who can chant, udgata, one who can kindle the sacrificial fire without the aid of separate fire, udvaryu, and one who can supervise, Brahma. Such sacrifices were conducted from the birth of Brahma, the first living creature, and were carried on till the reign of Maharaj Yudhishthira. But such expert Brahmana priests are very rare in this age of corruption and quarrel, and therefore in the present age only the yagna of chanting the holy name of the Lord is recommended. The scriptures enjoin Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Name Vekevalam, Galo Naste Va Naste Va Naste Va Gatir Anyatha. So do Mangalacharan. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Uttapadakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagraja Tam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Sha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Opesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapte Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavareshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarobhyasya Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Bhavalebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vastuniyo Shadhaya Sneha Rasaloha Mridojalam Richo Yajam Sisamani Chaturhotram Chasatama. Other requirements are utensils, grains, clarified butter, honey, gold, earth, water, the Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, and Samaveda, and 4 priests to perform the sacrifice. So, Hare Krishna. So today we're talking from Canto 2, Chapter 6. This is where Lord Brahma is talking to Narad Muni about the universal form of the Lord. So from text 23 to 25, Lord Brahma is talking or explaining about the process of sacrifice, or as it says in this verse, yagna. So a sacrifice is surrendering or offering something of value for the sake of something or someone. So sometimes for something to be considered a sacrifice in a full sense, there needs to be selflessness, like an element of selflessness. Often we sacrifice our time for like different purposes, like working or playing sport or like different things. But what we need to understand that this isn't real sacrifice, like because we're doing it for our own mundane pleasure. It's not real sacrifice, rather it's a waste of valuable time that we have on this earth, and it's only for illusory sense gratification. So Chanika Pandit, he says that millions of gold coins cannot buy a single moment of time. So therefore time is our most valuable asset. So we understand that for sacrifice we need selfless motivation. So thus sacrifice is equal to service. If we are serving someone, we're helping them in some way, thus we're sacrificing our time, which is the most valuable thing for us. We learn from Bhagavad Gita and from Prabhupada's lectures that service is the constitutional position of like us humans, or a living entity. Prabhupada gives an example of a president of a country. That's the most important position of a country, the president or prime minister, and they're only there because they're serving everyone else. So we should think of it like that. So with like our family members, we serve each other, friends, colleagues, where everyone's serving each other, but it's never selflessly. We're always doing it so we can gain something back from them. So there's always some sort of selfish intention or motivation. And what we need to understand is we might think this is a sacrifice, but it's not a sacrifice because it's not selfless. So for example, a person asks another person for something. Human tendency is that in the near future, they're gonna ask something back from you. That's the human tendency. We never out of decency do things for others unless we have some benefit for it. That's what we are as humans in this Kali Yuga. Chanika Pandit, he says, everything in this material world is going to be destroyed. So thus we should use everything and sacrifice everything for the service of the Lord. So of all the sacrifices in the Vedic literature, the performance of Sankirtan Yagna is the best. It is said that the performance of 100 Ashwamedh Yagnas cannot compare to the sacrifice of a Sankirtan. So according to Chaitanya Charitamrita, if one compares Sankirtan Yagna to other Yagnas, he's an infidel and he's liable to be punished by Yamaraj. So if we go into Mayavadi philosophy, there's many Mayavadis who think that the performance of Sankirtan Yagna is a pious activity, but they compare it to Ashwamedh Yagnas and everything, and it's on the same level. And it is said that this is Namaprad. Chanting of the holy name of Narayana and chanting of other names can never be equal, despite what Mayavadis and other impersonal humans think. So I have an example. So Sukadev Goswami, so he was once he was walking and he was naked, and he was walking, 16-year-old boy naked walking, and he was passing girls who were taking a bath, and they saw that Sukadev Goswami was such a peaceful, innocent boy that they didn't cover their body. But then when his father was passing, such a learned sage, old man, Vyasadeva, who is the author of all Vedic literatures, he's not an ordinary man, and that's because he was a worldly man, a householder, and the girls seeing him covered their bodies. So the stage that Sukadev Goswami is at is Atmarati, which is he's self-satisfied. He doesn't care about anything else in this world, and thus he's aloof from this world. So we shouldn't, the moral is we shouldn't imitate Sukadev Goswami and just walk around naked. But the thing is, we need to understand his bhav. He didn't care about anything, basically. He was naked dancing, naked bathing, he has no care. He's self-satisfied. He's satisfied in himself and with Krishna. And he's basically free. He's on this earth, but he's free from all material conceptions of life. So if we're not at this stage, it is said that if we're not at this stage, we need to perform the sacrifice. So it's recommended in Bhagavad Gita, the verse is 3.9. Yajnarthe karmano natra loko yam karma bandhana. You have to work in such a way that your work will be purified gradually, and you will come to this stage at Atmarati. But if you from the beginning are self-satisfied with your self-understanding, then you have nothing to do. So this verse is very beautiful. Yagnarthat karmano yatra loko yam karma bandhanaha tad artham karma kaunteya mukta sangha samarchara. So it says work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work causes bondage in this material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction, and in that way you will always remain free from bondage. So we sometimes think, how can I offer this to Krishna, or what can I do to control this sense of my body so it can serve Krishna better? So these are all answered in Nectar of Instruction, where it talks about the main things we need to control in our body so that we can serve Krishna, or not do harmful things. So the things we need to control, so there's Vacha, which is our speech, Manasa, which is our mind, Krodha, which is our anger, Jiva, which is our tongue, and Udara, which is our belly, and Upastha, which is genitals. So if we control and appropriately subvert all these from doing wrongful deeds, then thus we're sacrificing this for the pleasure of Krishna. And these are very small things. So firstly we talk about Vacha, which is our speaking power. So especially in this age of Kali, everyone has the power of speech. So as soon as someone has the opportunity, they start talking. It is said that if we don't talk about Krishna consciousness or Krishna consciousness, we speak all sorts of nonsense, which is true. In NOI, there's an example of a toad. A toad in the field speaks by croaking, and similarly, everyone has a tongue and wants to speak, but all we talk about is nonsense. The croaking of the toad simply invites the snake, which in our case is death. So please come here, please come eat me. Like that's toad's tendency of croaking. Nevertheless, although it is inviting of death, the toad keeps croaking, which is us. We're always speaking nonsense, and thus death is behind us. Where we can see that. So the meaning of controlled speech, which is conveyed by Sri Rupa Goswami, was that to advocate the positive process of Krishna Katha. So engaging and speaking only to glorify Krishna. So the tongue can thus glorify the name, form, qualities and pastimes of the Lord. So it is said that the preacher of Krishna Katha is always beyond the clutches of death. This is the significance of controlling the urge to speak. So the next is our mind, and that's probably the most important thing to control if you want to control any other part of our body. So it is said that the restlessness or fickleness of our mind, manovega, it is controlled when we fix our mind on the lotus feet of the Lord. So in Chaitanya Charitamrita it says, Krishna Surya Samamaya Haya Andakara Yahan Krishna Tahama Nahi Maya Radhikara. It is said Krishna is present in the mind, and there is no possibility of our mind of being agitated of Maya's influence. If one thinks that I want to serve Krishna best, then automatically his mind is controlled. Whatever, Bhakti Rasamrita Maharaj, he always says this, whatever you hardwire in parts of your brain, when it's functioning, you'll remember when everything else in your body fails. So at the time of death, everything in our body fails. So that's the most important time where we need to remember Krishna. So it is said the most important thing to hardwire in our brain is the transcendental sound vibration of the Mahamantra, which is non-different from Krishna himself. Similarly, we talk about anger. Anger can be controlled when we don't get angry on mundane, materialistic things. We get angry when someone blasphemes or talks bad about the devotees of the Lord. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he became angry at the miscreant brothers Jagai and Madai, who blasphemed and struck Nityananda Prabhu. So in his Shishtashtaka, Lord Chaitanya wrote, Srinadapi sunichena tarorapi suhishnuna. One should be humbler than the grass and more tolerant than the tree. One may then ask, then how come the Lord exhibited anger? But then the point is that we should be able to tolerate our own insults. But then once a pure devotee is blasphemed, or when a pure devotee is blasphemed, a genuine devotee would get angry and thus fight against them, or try to protect his devotees. So we sometimes get angry when someone says something because it affects our pride. But then Prabhupada says, who are we to have pride? We're a little speck in this universe. So it says that it doesn't matter what anyone says, as long as you can control your mind on Krishna's lotus feet, you'll never get angry. So anger can be controlled when utilized in the service of the Lord. So Gaur Gopal Das Prabhuji gives a very good example. He says, us in this Kali Yuga, we're like a soda or like Coke. You shake the Coke, and then once we get angry, you open it and then it just explodes. That's us. As devotees, we need to be like a water bottle. You open a water bottle, you shake it as much as you want, nothing happens. It just stays calm and still. So we'll go next for the next one, which is the urges of the tongue. So obviously we need to eat, and we can all experience that tongue always wants to eat palatable dishes. So generally we should not allow the tongue to eat according to its choice, but we should control the tongue by supplying prasad. So our attitude should be that I'm eating this because Krishna is giving it to me. if we stick to this principle, then the urges of the belly and tongue are controlled. In a similar manner, the urge of the genitals, the sex impulse, can be controlled when not used unnecessarily. The only purpose of the genitals should be to beget Krishna-conscious children, otherwise they shouldn't be used. So these are really small sacrifices that we can make for the pleasure of Krishna. So we'll go back to the concept of sacrifice. So a sacrifice is a ceremony performed to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st Canto, 2nd chapter, it's stated, everyone should try to understand whether the Supreme Personality of Godhead is satisfied by his activity. In other words, the aim of our activities should be to satisfy the Personality of Godhead. So examples given of when someone's at an office, the main objective is to please the master or the boss of the office. So activities to satisfy the Supreme Lord are prescribed in Vedic literature, and execution of such activities is called a yagna, which is a sacrifice. In other words, acting on behalf of the Supreme Lord is called yagna. One should know very well that any activity besides yagna is the cause of material bondage. So in Bhagavad Gita 3.9, yagnarthat karmano yatra loko yam karma bandhana. I already said this, but karma bandhana means that if we do not work for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord Vishnu, the reaction of not working for Vishnu will bind us. So one should not work for his own sense gratification, rather you should work for the satisfaction of God, and that's a real yagna. In this age of Kali, as humans, we're Prabhupada used to describe us as egotistic monsters. So he used to say, we don't care about anything except ourselves. So it's a very funny story. Gaur Gopal Das Prabhuji, again, you've probably heard this, but he says, he was describing how in this age humans are not how they used to be. We're always thinking of ourselves and or not working on our own personal development, rather comparing with others. So he talks about one student on the day when he was getting his exam marks back. He was very happy, he was very jumping up and he was very excited. So another friend asked him, he said, "Why are you so excited?" And he said, "Oh, I failed in 3 exams." So any normal person wouldn't be jumping up and down. So then the friend asked him, "Why are you jumping if you failed?" And he said, "The other guy failed in 5 exams." So always comparing with other people. That's our human tendency. So in this stage of Kali Yuga that we are at, instead of fixing ourselves, like I said, we're comparing with other people regarding materialistic things which literally, like I said before as well, have no intrinsic value. In Bhagavatam 4.2.35, it is said that in this age of Kali Yuga, it is practically impossible to perform the Deva Yagna, which is sacrifices to the demigods. But as such, in Srimad Bhagavatam, it recommends that we do Sankirtan Yagna. So in Bhagavatam again, Canto 11, it says, "In this age, the intelligent person completes the performances of all kinds of yagnas simply by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Tasmin tushte jagat tushta." When Lord Vishnu is satisfied, all the gods, all the demigods who are part and parcels of the Supreme Lord are satisfied. Nowadays, we do yagnas with the fire and everything, and we're trying to please some demigods so that our material thing can be fulfilled. But we should think about it like this, that if we please Krishna, the demigods are automatically satisfied. So what's the point of doing a yagna for the demigods? So, like I've said, Prabhupada says that chanting is the answer to all questions. And Bhaktivikas Swami, in many of his classes, the main response that he gives to different questions is that the answer is the same: chant and be happy, because Krishna will take care of the rest. So we're running out of time, but I'll go through one more verse. We'll finish with this. So, Aho aho birnakaler viduyate Sudha sudara madhura pade pade Dine dine chanda chandra sitale Yasho yashoda tanayasya giyate. So it's a very beautiful verse quoted by Sri Rupa Goswami. He says, Aho aho bhir nakaler vibhuyate. Oh, the scorching sun of Kali Yuga doesn't act on one person. Nakaler viduyate. Instead, Sudha, not one drop, Sudhara, unlimited quantity of madhuram pade pade, sweetness at every step. Not just this, dine dine, day by day, chandana chandra shitale. Instead of being scorched by the sun, we are soothed by the moon's rays of sandalwood. Thus, this is describing only one person in this modern age, and that is Yasho Yashoda Tanayasya Giyate. One who sings the yasha, the fame of Yashoda Tanayasya. So this tells us that a devotee who sings, chants, dances, they are aho aho bir nakaler vibhuyate, not affected by the harmful rays of Kali Yuga. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, the Gaur Premanande. Hare Krishna.